All right, while class is starting, I'm gonna have this quote on the board. The first slide: to guide youth, adolescents, and young children into becoming true disciples of Buddha, to contribute to the construction of society based on the morals of Buddhism. I will have everyone have their thoughts on that before we start class. Okay. All right, now that class is started, with the students in question, what are your thoughts on the quote that is put on the board? And just to break the fourth wall here, I will go through this presentation as if I am giving the presentation. However, I will have some talking points to the camera to kind of buffer that silence because I don't have real students, and talk about the conversations that we could have when the questions or certain activities are done. Okay. Anyway, so this quote is from the bylaws of the GDPT. So does anyone have any thoughts or opinions on this quote? We can do this by breaking it down. How about if we look at the parts about becoming the true disciples of Buddha, or how about do we contribute to society, or how do we contribute that ourselves to society based on Buddhism? This is then a conversation I can have with the students, giving ideas of how we use Buddhism in our teachings to contribute to society, or things we've done at a temple. This is kind of like a segue and foreshadow into the topic that we will be learning today before we actually start the topic. So this is going to segue us into the ideals of a leader. This is the topic we're going to be learning today for the class. This will talk about how or what it means for us to take on the leadership role. It sets us up with, how our purpose and expectations for what you guys want to come out and what we want to come out as leaders here for the Buddhist Youth Association. So ideals, ideals of a leader, what does that even mean? So ideals is a standard or model of perfection or excellence, an ultimate objective of an endeavor, right? So what is our purpose? What is our ideal situation, our ideal wants? What do we want out of something? So this is when it comes back to, what are our ideals as a BYA, as the Buddhist Youth Association. So this is something you guys can ponder on, but we'll continue throughout the slideshow here. I will give time for them to write this down, and we will continue on. We're going to look into what are the ideals or the purpose to serve in the BYA. So there are three things. It's going to be to serve Buddhism, to serve our country, and to serve our people. When you guys see this or hear this of these kind of three main points, what do you guys feel are your important ideas, or the reasons you guys are still in BYA today? It could be from kind of things like this in a broad respect, or any specific things you guys have, that is your purpose or your ideals of being a part of GDPT still. I'll open the floor to answer, but if the conversation is kind of a hard topic to think of right now, we'll kind of move on and go into those discussions later. Okay, number one, serving Buddhism. What does that entail, right? So to kind of look at a bigger picture to hold on to here, we can see that the world is filled with a lot of problems and injustices. We see that on the news and on social media and the things around us. So there's a lot of suffering, a lot of killing and hatred that is happening around, right? And when these feelings are bottled up, it can fuel for greed and anger and ignorance that can be misinterpreted and misunderstood between people and groups of people, right? So how does Buddhism play a role into this, right? By serving Buddhism, it's a way that we can use to help end suffering and bring peace to all. So why we should practice Buddhism, right? Why we should do this is to kind of help ourselves, right? It can give us a moment to help clear our minds, develop infinite love and understanding, to bring compassion and true understanding, to bring peace to any of the situation with us. So a lot of the stuff that's happening around, how we can play a role of a situation, being mindful of those around us, being able to sometimes just even meditate in your own thoughts before you act, to think about your feelings, right? To understand and put yourself in someone else's shoes. And then sometimes even to do the right thing, to be kind to others. Those kind of things can help not bring that fuel to ignorance or hatred that can be bottled up. And if we're able to use Buddhism and the practices that we've learned, through our time here, that can help with that. Right. 2, serving our country. So as leaders, we should be decent, good citizens who are contributing and upholding the responsibilities of our country, right? That's how we serve as good people to the area surrounding us and our country that we live in, right? So we can do that by respecting the Constitution and obeying the laws. We can do that by paying respect and gratitude to everyone so that we can create that spirit for the country that we live in. Our roles in being able to mold the youth that we, interact with and teach every week is how we can show them to be good citizens, to kind of serve our country in deep faith and welfare of, where we live and how we treat it is kind of the outcome of how good of a society, a country, an environment that we grow up in. 3rd, serving people. So as leaders within the GDPT, right, or even as leaders that we might be within our society, we really are truly serving the people, right? Whether it's using the Buddhism, serving our country, we are serving the people around us and the village in it. So our purpose when serving people, and especially in the GDPT, is to train our youth, right? We want it to be purposeful, we want it to be good, and we want to teach them to be kind to others, right? By doing this, because Buddhism helps enlighten us, liberate us from suffering, and bring peace and joy to others. So by being able to do that, we could then bring those feelings to the people around us, right? We must respect the people around us, and we teach the kids that every day. And then by being respectful to others, we can then guide them and help them to be true Buddhists and good citizens themselves, right? So it takes a village to have a village, right? And you got to be a villager, right? You got to be someone who also is contributing to society, to want to help them and not have bias for certain people or certain groups, right? You want to show that love and compassion to everyone, and in return, then we can continue that with everyone. So by being able to serve the people and understanding your feelings, first, I think that's a great way to be able to serve them, the people and the kids at the GDPT. Using these 3 things, right? How do we realize our ideals, right? How can we see that within ourselves, practice it, use it? So the first thing is important is believing in Buddha and his teachings, right? If you don't understand the Dharma, if you haven't practiced the Dharma, without strong faith, how are we able to move forward and serve others, right? How are we strong-minded in our opinions and those ideals that we have, right? Our values, pretty much. If we are not strong-minded in understanding of that, how can we then serve others in Buddhism, right? So we could kind of falter in those obstacles along our path of when we're trying to do anything, right? And like I said, with Dharma, we must practice Buddhism and his teachings, to fully understand them and connect them back to your own life. So to lead by example, especially when working with the kids, they're very understanding, they're very observant of what you're doing. So by leading by example, by the things you do, whether it's helping people or like learning the teachings and being involved, and implementing what we have learned into our everyday lives, that can effectively teach the youth that we work with. So in conclusion, we should be able to take pride and have confidence in the chosen path. For us, a lot of us, it's like, let's say the path of Buddhism or the careers or volunteers or the things we do, right? We want to take confidence in that, and our ideals or our purposes when we look back at our past things we've done, our past selves, and also the present, the moment, what we do now, right? So as GDPT leaders, we must vow to live our life with purpose and integrity to serve Buddhism, our country and the people, especially our youth, the kids that we work with every day or every week. How we show up for ourselves really shows how we show up for the kids every week there. And I think they notice it and they see it, and I think they appreciate it too. So being able to continue that is very important. Okay, now I will go through some photos. I will realistically go through them, ask about them, give the students time to answer, see what they want to say, and then I will carry on. But I will just answer the pictures for them. All right, so what do you guys see in these photos, and how do you think they connect to the ideals that we have just learned? Yes, so the photo on the far left right here, you can see that there's some members of the society giving offerings to the monks and nuns at the temple. We can see this could be a way of showing our ideals of Buddhism, our ideals of people, because we can see how sometimes it is about the small acts that we do, right? The small acts that we like providing to people like the monks and the nuns as a way of giving offerings of stuff that we have. We might have enough, but giving to others who might not have enough as well, like giving some to homeless people or giving some to kids. If we have some extra snacks and we can offer some to our friends or other kids who have a snack, why not? We also can see this as a way of Buddhism by giving offerings to the monks and the nuns, the ones who also help teach Dharma, help provide and take care of the temple, as a way to give back to them as well. And these kind of things as like food offerings are a way of kind of almost showing the examples of being able to do small things and tasks for other people within the temple, are also ways of showing ways to show the ideals of serving people and Buddhism, whether it's bowing to the monks and the nuns as you pass them, holding the doors open, help cleaning around the area, putting our phones down, interacting with one another. Those are all small things that the kids watch and they see and are aware of, and if we do that, they will do that too. The next photo we see is the one with the girl with a plant. What do you guys think about that? Yes, we see that there's a girl holding a plant, and it looks like they might be gardening or planting something in the ground. And we can see that is possibly a way of serving our country and the people, because they're taking care of the soil, they're taking care of the land, watering, putting in some plants in the ground, and also they're helping each other out, right? We serve by being kind, we help others, and it looks like this little girl might be helping their mom or some adult. And by planting the seeds, we're taking care, like I said, of the land we live in, which is important and we must maintain, because no one else is going to take care of it. We have to take care of it ourselves. Photo 2, we have a picture of Buddha and 2 people bowing their hands. Right? What do you think this shows? After some time to answer. Yes, so this kind of can show a sign of serving Buddhism. We can see the 2 kids are praying and possibly learning from Buddha. I think either they could be meditating, they could be chanting. This is something we do every week, right? We chant. We are involved with learning the Dharma, and I think this is just something, it's open to interpretation, but it's something that, based off your answers, something that we do to practice and learn Buddhism every week. Okay, lastly, what do we see in this photo here, and which ideal do you think this shows? After some time talking, yes, we see that it is some people collecting trash, and yes, we have done this before, on Earth Day or other times we go and help our community, right? This shows us serving our country. It could also even be us serving our the people around us, right? By taking care of the land, taking care, kind of like the other photo with the little girl helping with planting, right? This is helping us clean up the area we live in by being a good member of society, abiding by the laws, by not littering, throwing trash out, by taking care of the parks and the nature where a lot of animals live. We take care of our earth and Mother Nature. This is kind of some other tasks we've done. Do you guys know some of the ones we've done as well? Yes, like the Feed My Starving Children, where we went to go pack food during Christmas, when we pack stuff for the homeless. And serving our country can be the task and volunteer work that we do, but it's also some of the, when you guys are old enough to vote, that's a part of that. We paying our taxes. When some of you guys are driving, following the laws of the road. That is important parts of ways that we can serve the ideals of our country. Activity. So this is something very small. It's nothing super big and crazy, but just for the meeting time in class to reiterate something we have learned before. It helps you guys build confidence who, haven't done this but kind of want to do it during chanting time. Before lunch, we're going to practice the bell and the gong. Or we could do some walking meditation depending on the time here. It looks like we have time to practice the bell and the gong. But I think doing this, I want to show you guys that, sometimes it's the small actions that we take to build our purpose in life, right? To build our ideals and to really strengthen them of what we want out of it. And doing stuff like this, even the small things, not just the big things like the volunteer work that we've done, that like the kids see. It's also the small things we do in our day-to-day that build onto our ideals. So being able to take on these small tasks, like doing the bell and the gong and showing initiation in it, will also show that in the kids, and being role models, they will be interested. And a lot of the little ones are now too, right? As we continue to do this, they can do that too, whether it's that then now doing the meditation, it's doing the chanting, it's learning the Dharma, it's sitting in and listening to the monks that come present. We show up and they will show up too. So this is just a small little thing we'll do. We'll head upstairs and use the extra mini gongs and bells here. We'll pair up together. All right, the next slide is kind of showing the use of the bell and the gong. The kids then will practice this together, learning to do it alone and together as if we were presenting at the chanting time. I think this is just a small thing, but I feel like a lot of the kids really enjoy being able to be involved during chanting just because it's something to do. It's very hard to kind of sit there and read along sometimes, even if we do the English version of the chanting. So with that, I think this lesson is kind of helpful with just kind of keeping them involved and interactive as Buddhists and their roles in GDPT. But to finish off this slide, we'll now talk about kind of just my lesson plan, the involvement, the topic, the roles, like kind of just the breakdown parts of it, and just like notes for after. And this is the end of my presentation.